Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I have a very special guest and a childhood friend on. He is the Footwear Development Manager of Advanced Concepts at Adidas Basketball, and he was previously an Advanced Concept Development Manager for Adidas Yeezy. My longtime friend, childhood friend, Andrew Barrelet. Andrew, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So just give us a rundown of that overall experience, just, being at Adidas and, being able to work under them and what you've learned so far in your journey.
Yeah, man. So I've been with Adidas for a little over a year now. Definitely been a whirlwind of events, all things considered. But
Yeah.
and everybody can see the general complex news on those things. But yeah, man, it's been good. I've been in footwear for a little over 4 years now. It was I started at Skechers, was there for 3 years, and then last year made the jump over to Adidas. Something I've been trying to work on for a little bit. Trying to get into a different slot within some brands that I was really trying to push that envelope for. It was not easy coming. Definitely took
Mm.
some work. Definitely paid off meeting people, getting to know people, and proving myself not only to other people to myself that I could get there. And it's been a good journey so far, man. I'm super excited where we're at. Obviously, like you said, I started on the Yeezy team there. It was a massive learning experience for the things that they did and we got to do and create. And now I get to apply a lot of that into our basketball team.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And just speaking of, starting out, when you kind of took a big jump, when we were like 17, 18 years old, you just went to California. You left Harrisburg, which, you have all your friends and family. And you had mentioned to me that you went out to California where you knew like what one person and it wasn't even someone you really knew that well. And
It was
you
like
kind of
parents'
just,
friend of a friend. Yeah,
yeah.
it was a jump, man. It was definitely not something, whether my parents like to admit it or not, that they were the most excited about, but they understood and they get the having your kids learn, but also supporting them in the things that they're passionate about to be successful in. So I highly attest that to my parents in every way, shape, and form. Luckily, I had two older siblings that kind of paved the way, just a hair for me in some ways,
Mm.
but I went a few thousand more miles past that. But yeah, it was not the easiest of moves. I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a shell shock. I mean, I was 18, moving in with a bunch of 17, 18, some 19-year-olds into the heart of downtown Los Angeles and a place I had only visited once. I came to LA once for like 3, 4 days, and
Mm.
it was a tour of the school, check out a couple things, and then that was it. That was the option. So it was exciting though, and it was hands down probably the biggest jump out of everything I've had to make so far, both in just my personal life and careers of things, of what set me up for where I'm at now in my future. It was probably like I would say maybe not the biggest, but the first of the bigger jumps. It paid off though. I'm not mad about the weather. It's a
Yeah.
lot better
Yeah.
than
No.
6 feet of snow.
Yeah, it's definitely nicer out there than it is in Harrisburg. Is that like what drew you out there, or were there other aspects? The school, the just
The
the weather
school's
in
what
general.
brought
Like
me in,
what?
man. The
Yeah.
school is definitely what brought me in. So I attended the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, also known as FIDM, in downtown Los Angeles, and studied footwear design and development. I
Mm.
always knew kind of my passion for footwear and what it was. It was just a matter of kind of finding that right route that was going to take me there. Um, I was the most academic kid growing up. I mean, I got good grades. It's not like I was in like detention and study hall because my grades weren't there and I had to work on it, but I wasn't the smartest kid in the class about books and things. So it was a matter of finding what worked for me and what was going to allow me to get to where I wanted to. Because like my other option was going to be double major in product development and fashion design for 4 years on both, and that was just kind of not my route of things that I wanted to look at. So when I found out FITM had a footwear design development degree, I jumped on it, man. It was like I
Yeah.
made calls the next day. I was figuring out who, where, what this school was. I knew nothing about it, and it was a huge jump. But it also, like I said, like it was a big jump coming to California, but it was a big jump moving into a category like that for myself. But I think the framework of having moved to a major city within LA, in general across the world, having that little bit of structure behind like school definitely helped kind of, I wouldn't say keep guardrails up on certain things, but guide me in a certain direction, versus just openly moving to LA and having no idea and just shooting for the stars, see what happens type thing. So it definitely helped give me some framework. It allowed me to learn the West Coast, especially SoCal, a lot more than I ever kind of expected, but definitely needed. And it set me up for my first job. Because at first I was at Fitum in downtown LA, and then about a month and a half before graduation, I got my first job at Skechers, who's in Manhattan Beach, is their HQ. So I was very fortunate. I got to do that, and it definitely was a good precursor to things. And it's not like like internships and things like that that can be a major factor in those things, that can help push you in different areas. But that's where it's like in footwear, it's a very very competitive area. So I was being the fact that I was able to jump right into a first full-time job at one of the top three footwear companies in the world definitely allowed me to kind of like, okay, cool, I can stay in LA, I can be here, I can build on this. There's opportunity out the wazoo here. So it put me in the right place to continue to go on those things. I mean, I've been in LA for 6 years now, give or take.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds about right.
it kind of hit me the other day actually because we were talking. My fiance and I were talking to a couple friends that we had went to school with, and we were like, "Wow, that really was that long ago." Like, it didn't really hit, and then I was sitting there reflecting on it, and I was like, like you look back at those things a little bit here and there, it definitely opens up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you've always been a hustler. Like, that's something that I always admired about you. I mean, just growing up, you were Mr. Clean Kicks. You had your own like sneaker cleaning business. Uh, you flipped shoes for a while too, correct? You did a lot of
Yep.
that. Just always a hustler. So it like when you say that as soon as you found out that they had exactly what you wanted, you were finding out who, what, when, where,
Oh
like
yeah.
what you had to do, like immediately. And that is who you are, man. As soon as
Yeah.
you picture something that you want, you're all in, you're dedicated. And that's something that I really admire about you. And it just shows that, you said, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm going to fly the whole way across the country. I'm going to go to this school. They have exactly what I want. This is where I need to be. This is where I had to be. And you bet on yourself, and it definitely paid off, man.
1,000%. Having
Yeah.
just the passion for it, and some people it takes a long time to find their passion in life, which is totally normal. I mean, some people's passion change throughout life. Some people don't have one directly or aren't able to find a career within their passion, but then it's about finding something that allows you to have that passion and focus on those things outside of, say, a 9 to 5, or figuring out what those things look like. And I was fortunate enough that that passion led me to a career that I can live off of and deal with and do every day. And like I said, I started from way smaller, cleaning shoes, hustling, flipping those things, but that same mentality of the hustle behind it, but then also just the passion I had for what I wanted to be able to do is what I think helped drive me consistently. Well, there's times of doubt. Of, by all means, there was plenty of times of doubt, and it didn't come easy. But I think that's the times of doubt were like the passionate portion of it. That's like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be in. And then the back end of that was, if I doubted that, the hustler kind of kicks in and is like, yeah, but we're gonna get there because we're doing this. Like, you gotta almost
Yeah.
keep yourself in check out of it so you don't get down in the dumps or anything. But like, you want to be able to progress and succeed. And like I said, it can be something that progresses over time. I was fortunate that like my passion of footwear started much younger age and kind of was able to build and succeed off that over the years. And it could change down the line. It hasn't yet, but you never know. But that's also like, I mean, you see some of these big, massive corporation people that don't start certain companies or things until their 30s, 40s, 50s, even. It's like, your passion and things can change, but if you have just the drive and mentality of it, no matter what it is that you pick, it will get you there.
Yeah, man. So what would you say to someone who's kind of like in that stage of doubt when it comes to like their career? Because you said you've been to those points
Yeah.
and, so you've obviously been through it. what would you say to a person who was going through that right now? Like, what would you have said to yourself, I guess?
It's okay to take a step back. Sometimes taking a step back, even just for yourself from a mental health standpoint, physical health standpoint, redirection, or making that pivot or change in life, it's completely normal and it's completely okay. And even just having doubt in the things that you are working towards is, I would say, okay and normal. I'd be more concerned if somebody was like, "Oh, I never doubted it. This is what it is, and I got here." And it's like, that seems a little like maybe like a little bit of a front, but it's like be open about it with yourself. Be real, and then decide: is this for you? Is this what you want? And no matter what it is that you decide, those loved ones that are supporting you or with you or there with you or doing these things or even maybe financially invested in you as well will continue to support you. There's no doubt about that. That's what those people are in your life for. And if they don't, I think that kind of gives you an answer to something in your personal life of a relationship that maybe you didn't have directly, but it kind of puts in perspective. But I think it's totally normal to kind of take those things and have those moments, but use them as building moments and moments that allow you to continue your story and define what you want to build on. Not as a, oh, this is it, and then you just tank off of it.
Yeah, like a
Build off of it.
redirection kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's completely normal and okay, and you should, even if the happiest moments of your life, sit back and reflect on it. Decide, it's are these the things for the next 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years, rest of your life, whatever those items are. I think it's okay to have those doubt and insecurities or unsureness or just frustrations and things, but it's about how you reflect and evaluate and decide for yourself and move forward with it. Because if you sit there and then you just get too much into it, you get stuck or you don't go anywhere with it or do anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like focus is good. It's always good to have focus, but if you get so narrow focused that you're not focusing on anything else around you, it can get very toxic for you because you're not taking care of your maybe physical health if you're focused on
Yep.
your academics. You're not taking care of your diet because you're so laser focused, in studying things like that. So it's definitely good to, take that step back, like you had mentioned, and kind of see things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
From if I was taking care of this person, and they were just so laser focused all the time studying, I'd be like, hey, like, let's go for a walk. Like, let's, guess you need something to
Yeah,
eat,
exactly.
like kind of take care of yourself like you were taking care of someone that you care about
Yep.
in a
And it's
sense.
okay to
Yeah.
have a balance in there of those things from any way, shape, and form. But like you said, even like just having friends that help kind of keep you in check about things like that or kind of push you in those the right direction. Although you might not always like what they have to say, tends to be what you need to hear. And the closest people to you will do that with you and for you and help you. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be in your inner circle of life, from friends and family, coworkers, mentors, you name it, that is going to sit there and have a conversation with you and not want you to succeed out of it. So if you think of it in the sense of like the person you're willing to have a conversation about, of like in certain areas of your life, especially with yourself, is a person that wants you to succeed and build on it. So always keep that in mind, that it's never a bad thing.
Yeah. I like that because I often get narrow focused. I often
Oh,
don't listen to
dude,
people.
me too. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get way too
Yeah.
driven into certain things sometimes, but it's also okay to understand to let go.
Yeah.
It's okay to let go of certain things in life that just aren't it or aren't going to continue to be it, or know when that ending is there and coming to an acceptance of certain things. For example, something you and I had gotten to speak about before was like there's a point in everybody's life that plays some type of sport. If you play a sport and you go to college or you want to go pro or whatever it is, no matter what it is, or even just a job, but using sports as an example, and there's a point where each person has to evaluate, am I going to be a professional at this? Am I going to continue to do this? Am I doing this because I like it? Am I doing this to make other people happy? Am I doing this because this is just here? Um, for me personally, I think something that also helped set me up for success and where I'm at is the sports and things I played. I was good. I enjoyed it. I wasn't the best. I knew I wasn't the
Yeah.
best, but I wasn't going to act like I was the best. You know what I mean? But I found the area of things that I was passionate about and interested in and pushed myself to be the best at that. Um, and there was a time frame in high school for myself where like those sports and things, they were cool and I enjoyed it, but it was also like, you know, am I taking too much time in my life away in key moments where I could be setting myself up for success in these other areas where maybe that's what I want to do? And that was something I did that I was around that same time I started my first business. I started pushing myself into sneakers in every way, shape, and form I could be. Any room I could be in for it, whether I was supposed to be in there or not, or conversation, I found a way in. And I still try to do that to this day. Like if I need to be in something or there's something I can do to push it to that next level, I do. At that same point, there's plenty of people that are like, like if I personally was like, yeah, like I'm not going to be the best at this, but I enjoy it, then continue to do it. That's totally normal to continue to do those things that you enjoy. You should do things that you enjoy. I know people that are diehard basketball fans know that they'll never be pro, but love playing basketball every day, and they played all through college. But that's your choice of things that you have as a passion that keep you happy outside of those general things. That's where I think for myself I was able to be so successful, is that extra item in my life that I was enjoying as a passion. A lot of people, sports or certain things, I was able to connect it to what my day to day is. And that's where a good full circle moment for me was. So that's where it's
Oh
about
yeah,
the balance and things though too.
beautiful cross section.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's nice when that happens, when you could take, like you said, what you love to do, and then you can
Yep.
also make money from it. And
Yeah.
I think that is honestly what the American dream's all about, is being able to do that, being
Yep.
able to monetize your passion.
1,000%.
And
That's
yeah,
what that is
yeah,
exactly what it's about. And the craziest part too is like it's not like I knew I wanted to be a footwear developer from the jump. Like I just knew I wanted to be in shoes. And the closest thing
yeah,
I could figure out that I enjoyed at that time was doing footwear design. So even
yeah.
like in high school, I was designing shoes. I was applying for. I just recently just saw this. I applied for a job for Adidas as a footwear designer in like 2015, and it still showed under my like old profile. And I was like, I was so underqualified for that. There's no way they were ever going to call me. I was like a
You
16.
wouldn't hire you right now.
Huh? Oh, yeah, no way. God
You
no.
wouldn't have hired you.
No, exactly. But like
Uh,
there was a point where I accepted and knew like, hey, sports in my life, I'm not the best at some of these. I enjoy it, but it's like, I get the same outcome and enjoyment as like playing or doing some of these sports as I do going to the gym. So I pivoted and I started going to the gym and made that my physical activity to keep myself physically and healthy and in check. But then I took that other time and availability I had and put it into my passion of footwear. There was also a point towards the end of my college time where I accepted and knew I'm not the best designer, but I know the fundamentals and understanding of design and how to do those things, from design to tech packs to color material to 3D, you name it, across the board. I learned and knew the fundamentals and structure of that. And I found the area and took a pivot within footwear still that allowed me to be successful. And that's where footwear development comes in. It's a category that overarches a massive amount of things that go into it, from design to structure to build to the anatomy of the feet to formulations of different compounds and rubbers and material usages. And then the additive portion of those areas where it's like, hey, I got to wrap back around to the whole sports interest thing and be like, what does that person do on the court every day, and study those fundamentals and know those to apply it to a shoe to make it the best thing possible. So it's okay to continue to evolve and pivot in those areas. And that's where I say, like, what I do now, I absolutely love. But I would no way on God's green earth have hired me 10, 15 years ago applying out of high school. But it was something that it was taking me in that direction throughout that time.
but I love that you did that, and that it's
Yeah.
still, where'd you say it was still at? You still like have the resume, or still have the
Oh, so
application?
like like you go to apply to like a company or whatever, and you have to make a portal sometimes on websites.
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
Adidas, we required people to make like a application portal where you fill out stuff. And I was like scrolling
yeah.
through it recently because it like pinged something or whatever to merge it with like my employee account. And at the bottom of it was like the first like 10 jobs I ever applied to with Adidas. way underqualified, way out of scope. And it was like some of the designs of stuff I was like, I forgot I even tried to make that. But now looking back at it too, like you get to see those things that it was a passion of mine. It still is, but I get to have extreme influence and impact on how those things come to life, which is amazing. But it was interesting to see it because it was like some of those ideas and things that I did are still things that are coming around in my own life, but also in the industry. And it's like, all right, so I'm still on the right path. I still have the right mindset of the things I'm trying to do or create. So it definitely
Yeah.
set me up for that in a fun way.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome though that you visualized just when you were younger being able to work at Adidas and applying for the jobs. And even though right then and there you may not have been hired, you kind of, wrote your own destiny. And even though you may not have been thinking about it throughout the entire time, when you set that application up and you sent that in, you were
Well, I
applying
always figured,
yourself. And
what's the worst they're going to say? No.
yeah, absolutely. And
In
they ended up
general,
saying yes years later.
years later, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic too because looking back at it, when I had got my job offer with Adidas, like I was highly contemplating. Like I was kind of torn because I knew what I had set up for myself career wise for the next couple of years with Skechers, and I saw a major opportunity. But then it was also like in my gut, it was like, how can I look back at myself 10, 15 years ago, somebody who applied to jobs like that all the time, way underqualified, but just the mentality or passion I had for it, and say, I ended up saying no to it. It's like, that's just not me. And I wanted to make that jump. And it was something that it definitely paid off in every way, shape, and form I could have imagined. And it was something that, like I said, it was something I never thought about at that initial time. But looking back, it was like, how could I stand here today and tell myself that from many years ago in the mirror, what I said no to, unless it was something that was a life defining moment that was like, there's no way I can because of X, Y, and Z. And that's, I think, like where each moment of those things is defined by your surroundings and items in life that you have going on. But it was something that I was able to do, and I absolutely loved it.
Absolutely, man. I'm very proud of you for taking the steps required
Thank you.
to fulfilling your dreams, man, because that's not a lot of people are, have the confidence and the courage even now with the qualifications to apply for their dream job.
Yeah.
And you not only had the confidence to apply for your dream job when you were way underqualified, you had the follow through and the consistency to go out, get your degree, and then eventually make the jump. You were at Skechers, but you made the jump to Adidas, and not a lot of people would do that. I feel like sometimes people even get like, what's it called, imposter syndrome, where they feel like they shouldn't even be where they're at, and
Oh,
rather
dude,
than
I hear
doing
that
that,
all the time. I look
yeah,
back all the time. I'm not, and I have friends that we all like will joke or talk like, "Well, I don't understand how it happened, but I'm glad it is because it feels like like I try to remember those moments where I did have the doubt of things because it's like these are the moments that prove that person in that moment of doubt wrong, that everything that was in between was right and I'm on the right path. But it still is like a shell shock, like a lot of times to me. Like, even like I go into the office, I'm like, I do get to do this here every day. This is something I never like thought I would be at. Even when I was at Skechers, it was like, I got a job in footwear. Like, okay, I really am here. Like, the things I did and started and tried to push myself towards, like, they came around, and there's different levels to it. The thing that's more intriguing to myself about it too is like, I never really thought about it until those moments hit either. Because it's
yeah,
like I stopped playing sports and focused on footwear design and my academics that were going to allow me to go to school to set me up to get into footwear. I found FITM by accident one night. And then that set me up to be where I was graduating, coming out of college, and then was able to get a job at Skechers that allowed me to stay in LA and build on that and be there for 3 amazing years. And I busted my butt there. And it was during COVID too. So it was like I started a brand new career and then COVID hit. And was a whole nother dynamic change of things. So it was definitely like in levels of those things. And I never noticed them necessarily in the moment until I sit there and reflect on each of those items that have pushed me there. But the thing that I find interesting the most to myself right now is I look back and I don't know what the next one's going to be.
Yeah.
Like it's the first time in a very long time I don't know if I know what the next one's going to be, but I'm ready for it when it does. And I'm
By
excited
next one,
for
you
it.
mean like your next defining
What is
moment?
that next defining moment? And
Yeah.
my word, I know you and I talked about
Yes.
this, my word is define, because you get to define every level of those things in your life. You get to define the people that are around you every day that love and support you, what you put into every day. And I'm not the most energetic person. Like I go to the gym consistently, I keep my health in check, but also like I enjoy having a good time with my friends and taking a day back or sitting on the couch all day to binge watch something. Like it's okay, but I know every day when I pick that's what I'm doing. That's what I decide to define myself as for that day. But if I look at my life as a whole so far and my defining moments from a career standpoint, those are different key life moments that I felt like I was working towards and continued to build off of. And if I was going to write a book, I would probably call each of those things a different chapter that those chapters define things. But each
There you
day is a
go.
different page that allows to build up to those key moments. I've yet to figure out what that next one's going to be yet, but I'm okay with that because I got to a place where I literally still pinched myself like I never thought I would even get a job within footwear like this. And
Yeah.
I get to work on some of the coolest projects, working with some of the most innovative, smartest people in footwear in the world. And I'm in rooms where it was like before I would try to have to figure my way in, but now I'm being asked to be in there because I am very good at my job. And sometimes it's a shell shock to myself that it's like, I am very good at my job, but then I think about the last 10, 15 years where I put in the effort in those areas that have allowed me to be where I'm at. And that's why I say, like, you get to define each of those moments. And my next defining moment very well could be my wedding next year, which it will be a defining moment in my personal life. But there are things in parallel of your personal life and things in your career and life. And it's not to say they're the moments where I define myself in my career and different things, because like moving to LA is both a career, educational, and personal move.
Yeah.
Proposing to my fiance 2 months ago was a big personal move, but it wouldn't affect my career in any way outside of, hey, we're starting a family and building on those things, which inevitably go hand in hand to a certain extent. But there's different defining moments, and it could be maybe one day once I have kids. It could be another major company reaches out to me to come do something for them that I would have never expected. So it's also not only like being able to build those things, but you can define every day, but you can't define the moments that show up. But you can be ready for them, no matter what it is. I think you can plan and build the things in your life as you go on a day to day basis that put you in the mindset and in the areas to be successful. So when other opportunities do come around, both personally and professionally, you feel comfortable with what they are.
Yeah, and I feel like reflecting is really important. You touched on reflecting a little bit, and we can get into that a little bit more. But I feel like that's really important because reflecting allows you to see which moments defined you and how they defined you, because you may
Yes.
not think that a certain moment defines your education because it was a career thing, but
Yep.
later on down the road it may be like, wow, had I never learned that and had I never been educated in that, I would have
Yes.
never been able to apply it to this. And I feel like a lot of times that reflecting is very important because we, realize what actually impacted us and what defined us and how it defined us. And getting into reflecting, you
Yep.
do a lot of specific reflecting techniques and practices that I want you to share because I found them very interesting when you were sharing them with me. So, what are the different reflecting practices that you practice, on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis?
Yeah. So I find reflection very helpful in a lot of ways because I try to reflect on key good moments in the moments, even bad moments. I try to reflect on good moments, help offset the difference for myself a little bit sometimes here and there. But I find reflection a very powerful item in life because, like I said, you can prepare for the future in those different key defining moments, and you can, to a certain extent, define each day and write those things as those chapters in your life build. But you never know when the big next one's going to be necessarily. But what you can do is look back and reflect on all those other days and all those other key defining moments and things that you might consider a defining moment, or things that just might be a quick defined building. Oh wow, like small stuff where your parents taught you, or you saw somebody else and you're like, that's for me, or that's not for me. Those small items, but being able to reflect on all those things in the past reminds you of the things you're successful on. It allows you to make adjustments or pivot into areas where it's like, for me, like stepping out of sports and focusing on design, it was like I reflected on every basketball game, football game, dance competition, you name it, and was like, all right, I'm at peace with myself, reflecting that I have all these amazing moments, winning championships, getting to play, game winning points, you name it, and being global champs of certain items that I was part of. But did I see myself building the rest of my life on it? No, but it was key defining moments that built me into that passion and enjoyed that. So, like for myself personally, I like to reflect a lot throughout a year. There's certain days where I just periodically reflect kind of unintentionally, but I like to think back even on my own day. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the most academic guy, so I'm also not the person that's sitting there journaling every day. Some people do, some people don't. I think it's about what for you allows you to reflect, whether you got to reread your own notes or take different notes of big items or big days or pictures. Like think about it as a picture standpoint. You see a photo, you kind of reflect on that moment. Sometimes I look at photos, I'm like, I don't even remember being there. But those kind of things allow you to look back in those areas. So it's a how you want to do it. So for me personally, I like to look back every year on my birthday and reflect of what did I do for myself over the last year for my birthday. I do that for New Year's as well. But the one I do for New Year's, it sounds so horrible to a certain extent, but I reflect on a lot of my friendships over New Year's. And it unintentionally actually came of like the one day I cared too much about how many people I followed years ago. And it was like,
Mm.
how many people do I follow? Do I talk to these people? Do I not? Do I see you on a daily basis? Do we talk once a year? Do I follow you just because it's interesting and you're a travel blogger or something? You know what I mean? But it was something I had
Yeah.
looked at and it made me go, why don't I reflect on all my general friendships too? And they say that the people that you're around are the people that help, and that is the circle you're around. You're going to bounce off each other. You're going to have those things. So understanding and reflecting on the people that I was surrounded with that are going to push me and be those people, like I talked about earlier, that are when you're in the dumps or you're super excited, who are those first 5, 10, 20 people that are like, these are the people I want to call? Oh, I'm down bad. I don't want to call anybody. But if I call this person, this is the person that makes me the happiest all the time. And I just need one of those moments. And reflecting on those things from a friendship standpoint. And it also makes you kind of grateful too. You get to reflect on the things that some of your close family and friends have been through or are going through that might allow you to like, oh, maybe I need to talk to them because that's something I have going on that I didn't know who to call yet, or I didn't know who to talk to, or I didn't know what to look at it as. So that's something you get to kind of think about as well. Is like, are there people around you or in your circle that you deal with or talk to that just, for lack of better words, just shouldn't be there? Are they benefiting you? And if it's a very good friendship and that's all you need, that's fine. It's up to you to define what you want that to be. So I do that on New Year's. I'm very fortunate to say my number of people that I reflect on has not changed. I have a very, very close group of friends that are like brothers to me. I've got an amazing group of people that are family friends, and an absolute could have never asked for a better family. And on top of that, I get to add to my family this next year, and my fiance's family is just as equally great. So I couldn't be happier to have those people in my circle and have those moments. Another time of the year that I like to reflect from a career standpoint of things is every year over year at my job. Generally, like companies will do your yearly review or whatever. But I do a yearly review with my boss and stuff like that, or every 6 months, 90 days, whatever each company requires. But I do one for myself. What is my own personal ambitions and goals of this next year, over the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? If I'm still at this company in 5 years, what are my year over year things that are going to get me to my next target objective? If I want to be the head director or GM or SVP, or I want to completely change paths and take a parallel and go into the tech world or go further into innovation, or I want to start a whole new team, or do I want to go start my own company? I think those are all things that are extremely beneficial questions, because some people do get too stuck in ways. There are people, and that's okay though, because if it's like that's your person and that's like, I don't really have ambitions around building or growing and doing those things, but this is a job I like, they cover my bills or whatever. That's up to you to decide what you want that to be. And reflecting on it at any point helps. And that's where you're like, oh, like this is just my 9 to 5 covers it, but I enjoy this on the side. And that's what my passion is. And that's what I get to go after. That's great. For me personally, considering those things are one and the same in a lot of ways, it allows me to reflect on what I want to grow on or build on, or even just general like projects. Like, is there something new I want to try and do that I need to go pitch to somebody and get done? And I write myself an objective of like, all right, a year from now, this idea that I had, I'm going to have it figured out. But then like reflect on it in the sense of, did I figure it out? Did I not? What are the things I should have done differently? What are the things I can do differently to be better about it next time? Different areas from that as well. So like my key 3 defining moments from a personal, outside of just like myself, everything around me in the world is New Year's. Myself personally is my birthday every year. And then my career wise and like that standpoint is around what is my each year at work. So the flip side to it is all of those are currently grouped into like the first 4 months of the year.
Mm.
But it kind of puts in a perspective of, I sit there and I reflect on those things. And then for the rest of the year, I do daily or here and there, of just like those moments hit. But I don't like sit down and really like think about those things with myself or just go through those moments until that time of the year hits. But having such a big gap almost kind of makes me reflect on it in a lot more ways, because I see the photos of things where I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Or like different things where it's like, like that just did not work and I didn't even think about it until this time. But it allows you to kind of see the things that were successful and weren't, and why. Was it not successful because of you? Was it not successful because somebody else on the project or on the team? Or was it a something else in life happened, because life happens thing that didn't allow it? Life happened and I couldn't do it. I'm doing it this year. This is why. For example, one of the ones I do for myself is I keep myself physically in check. I've been telling myself for the last 3 years, my New Year's resolution is get washboard abs. That has not happened, and nor will it probably ever, but I'm going to keep telling myself until I actually decide to do it. But I've got other priorities on my list outside of trying to build my core. But I think the reflection of things and deciding on how you want those things to look is extremely pivotal and beneficial in life in many ways. But also, like, if you think of it past that 1 year, it allows you to know if your 5 year, 10 year, 3 year goals need to be adjusted at all. When you think of major corporations that we need to do $100 billion in sales this year, which is some unreal number, but
Yeah.
1 year goes by and it's like, oh, hey guys, we only did like 80 mil. We should probably reevaluate our target objective. And then they tell the public, no, I'm not going to sit there and tell the public every time I make a personal adjustment in my life.
Yeah.
But it allows you to kind of think about those things a little bit further, and what things in your life will set you up for success and make those adjustments. Big point of reference is like when I made the jump and left Skechers and took the job with Adidas, I had to do some serious reflecting on things. What did it mean for me personally? What did it mean for my relationship? What did it mean for me from a career standpoint? Did it make sense? Did it mean a positive direction and all those things? And if it didn't, why didn't it? And what was it going to be for me to be able to make it a positive direction? and it lined up and it worked very well for where my life was and where things were headed. That it was an opportunity I got to take. But
Yeah, I feel like
I test reflection is a big thing.
yeah, yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like how you were talking about reevaluating from a company standpoint.
Yeah,
Uh, Even when you reevaluate from a personal standpoint, a lot of people think that reevaluating means that you failed, but the fact that you set that goal to begin with, had you never set that goal, you
yeah,
would have never even gotten anywhere close to it. Like I have a
not at
certain
all.
goal for the amount of followers, the amount of plays that I want to have on here by 6 months. And if I don't hit that goal, guess what I would be at had I never even put a goal up? Zero. I'd be at zero because I wouldn't have even started. I wouldn't have even had anything to work toward. I would have maybe my family and friends would have watched or played it or liked the video or
Yep,
whatever. But now I have a whole group of people that are doing it because I set a goal and I put
yep,
out content and I kept going. And even if I don't hit that goal, you're going to be
yeah.
so much further along in your journey. I don't know who said it, but shoot for the moon because even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars.
Mars ain't too
Other
far off.
sayings like aim high because if
Okay.
you aim high, it's going to be a lot better than if you aim low and actually hit the target. Because if you aim low and hit the
Yeah.
target, you're going to be
Well,
stuck
yeah.
there.
Yep. And you can always readjust, shoot again.
Yeah.
Never stop. Never stop until you get there or you get close to it or something that allows you to feel successful in it. Because the second you stop is the second you plateau out of it. But to your point too is like, okay, if your goal in 6 months is have these things and you reflect on it and it's like, oh, I got to readjust. It's not a failure. It's
No.
readjusting to make the best steps to be successful in it and willing to accept those different areas where it's like, said, I'm not going to be the best of the best all the time in these different areas, but I know what it takes to be there. And it might take me a little bit longer. It might take me quicker in some areas. For example, if your goal here is 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but you hit it in 2 months, guess what? You're going to reevaluate what the rest of the year is going to look like. Oh, crap, we hit this way quicker. We're growing, we're building. All right, sweet. What's the next move? What's the next step? How do I build on those things? Reflect on the good and reflect on the it's not a bad thing, but reflect on the things that aren't necessarily
That need
hitting.
fixing. Yeah.
Yeah. And think of them as an opportunity to learn and build on it. Because when you get to learn and build on those areas that might not hit your initial objective, are some of the most pivotal learning points in those areas. Those are the moments where you have to really dive deep and figure out how do I become better at this portion of it to be successful in this area. And that's almost some of those things. Like there's some, for example, there's parts of my job where it's like I knew I wasn't the best, and I didn't like it, but I knew I needed to be good at it for my job, and I put in the work to learn it and build on it and figure it out. And now I'm probably 10,000 times better than I used to be on it because I knew I
Oh
needed to have
yeah.
it. And I have people that come and ask me questions about it all the time, and it's like if somebody would have asked me a question on this 5 years ago, I would have told them to blow smoke because there's no way I even know
You
how
would
to
have
open
had
that
no
program.
idea.
But
No
now
idea.
I know what it is. I know how to do it. I know how to like the back of my hand. And I didn't like learning it, but I knew what it meant to be successful, meaning I needed to know that or build on that. And that's all. I think the ambition portion of it takes a big part because you got to be able to and willing to put in that willpower for it. I think to your some of your points earlier is like, oh, I want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, well, you got 95% of the battles going to the gym or something, making any type of effort in the direction of success is a win. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's what's better too, not to give yourself time frames on things. There's plenty of my goals where I don't give myself a time frame and I just reflect on it year over year. And it's like, hey, I haven't moved on that goal in a long time. I should probably start working on it. I should probably start trying to focus in on it a little bit more. And that's okay because not every goal or ambition or defining moment has to have a timeline to it or a time frame. It could
Yeah.
be an open-ended question. Sometimes those are the better ones.
Yeah. Because they're the ones that allow for consistent work and
Yeah.
consistent effort. And it's like a longevity thing. Like
Yep.
Matthew McConaughey, he often says, I want to be my hero is me in 10 years. And it's
Yep.
always me in 10 years. So that way
Yep.
he's constantly building and constantly trying to be a better version of himself all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had experiences in my life where I had a certain goal, right? And then once that goal hit, it was pretty anticlimactic because, well, now what? And now
Yep.
I have to, do this or do that. And like even with my goal with losing weight, like I kind of have to maintain that discipline, but I don't get that successful feeling now. I mean, obviously going to the gym
Yeah.
feels good, but I don't have that today's the day that I lost 125-pound feeling anymore. Like you don't
Yeah.
have that feeling.
And
So
it's never
now
an
it's
overnight
just
thing either. Yeah.
now it's just
Exactly.
discipline. Now it's
Yep.
just keeping it off and maintaining that. And I'm sure
Consistency.
when you first had your job, right? Like it was like I have a job at Adidas. Now it's like now I got to keep my job at Adidas.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah. Every
yeah.
day
Now I got to
I
show
gotta
up
earn my
every
stripes
day.
every day.
Yeah,
No pun intended. But yeah, I
yeah.
gotta show up and make it happen. And I think that goes for any job, ambition, goal,
He
whatever you
said,
want
"Earn
it
my
to be.
stripes."
You gotta you gotta
Oh,
make it happen. And like you said, the consistency and continuing to build, and that's a major factor. I think a key like thing in the world is like everybody's like, oh, you didn't graduate college in 4 years if you went to a 4 year, or if you went for two, or and then
yeah,
people are just like, oh, I got my doctorate and I graduated in 5 years. It's like, cool, you're really smart.
yeah,
Like, what else do you want me to say? Like, that was your defining moment of doing that in
yep.
5 years. Is that impressive? Oh my God, yeah, I couldn't try to get a doctorate degree if I wanted. Now I probably could, but it's not for me, and I know it's not for me. I know my
Yep.
own limits of certain areas and what I want to be in those areas. And watch, 10 years from now, you and I are going to do a follow up, and I'll be like, yeah, I got my doctorate. Like, but
I got my
there,
doctorate in icy bottoms.
yeah, exactly. Exactly, but there's different
Oh,
factors in that. That's why I say too is like I think like people like it's an unintentional thing that kind of gets built into our heads too of those time frames of certain goals and items and things of because you start with initial time frames in your life of oh you need to be walking by the age of 2, you need to be running by this age, you need to be in school and graduate by this age, you need to be in college and graduate by this. None of that really matters once you graduate. After that and after you start your career, whether you start your career after you graduate from high school, after college, or whatever it is, the second you take yourself off of that, you're on a equal playing field with everybody else out in the world that is doing the exact same thing as you. And I think being able to kind of mentally check out of those things sooner than later, especially if you can check out of those things while in school or while in college or whatever you want it to be, check some of those time frames out. Because like there are a certain portion of it where it's like, all right, you're in the world, you're competing with everybody in these things.
yeah,
If you give yourself a certain time frame on certain things, figure out what it means to be successful and hit those goals in those time frames and build to it. But don't hold it against yourself too.
yeah, absolutely. And to what you said, like you need to finish school in this amount of time in these years, and you need to have a job by this time after college. You need to get your degree. That's a lot of how society defines you and how
Yeah,
society defines how you're supposed to live.
yep,
And speaking specifically to this podcast and to your word, define,
yep,
you need to define you. You need to
yeah,
define yourself. And if you take control of your life, take control of what you do, and take control of your goals and your passion and try to
yep.
monetize that to the best of your ability, I think that's more beneficial at any point in your life rather than
Oh yeah,
just,
yeah,
following the system and going through what you have to go through.
exactly. And to that point, exactly to define those things and like, that word in particular is what I like to use. But like I didn't go right to LA out of high school. Like I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to go into something particular with footwear, so I went to Dauphin County Tech and got my advertising art and design certification and learned all the Adobe programs because I knew they would help me be successful in the areas I wanted. I also didn't want to go spend a boatload of money to double major and being a set myself up for something I didn't think I was going to be able to succeed at. Double majoring and doing all that within 4 years, I'd still be in college right now. And that wasn't me. And I knew that wasn't me. So I worked in footwear. I started in retail. I went to Hack and got my gen eds, and then I went to Fitum when I found it. And that opportunity came across. I got to set myself up for success for that defining moment to hit and take advantage of it to its full capability. And I think I did. I don't think I'd be here if I didn't. So it's, like I said, and it's kind of backtracks or it almost makes you sound like whatever. But there are moments in there where it's like you have to build towards it. You have to work towards those things, and taking away the time frames or societary, the word societary, whatever. I'm making it one
There we go.
items that push you into certain time frames. Do your own thing. Everybody else in the world is. Half the people are faking it till they make it.
Yeah.
So I think being able to just kind of build on those areas, and the sooner you can give yourself your own goals and ambitions, and if it is things that fall around time frames, great. And if it's not, and it's certain areas where it's like, I didn't get that in 6 months, I didn't get it in a year. Why didn't you? Reflect on it,
Yeah.
pivot, move forward. Don't hold it against yourself. It's never a bad thing. It's that life happens, things happen, adjustments happen. You just have to pick what you're willing to have at those moments to define you. That's
Yeah,
it. Right?
absolutely. That's awesome, man. So I know you have a quote to share. Actually, I
Yeah.
believe you have a couple quotes to share as well. Do you want to share those now?
I'm gonna roll with the first one that I
Okay.
sent you. So
All
it is
right.
one that I was actually reflecting on these two I sent you
There you go.
today, and I decided that I'm gonna roll with the first one because it was something that was said to me very much from a young age. I never totally understood it, but as I got older, it made more and more sense, and definitely has defined a large amount of where I'm at from my personal and career standpoint in my life. But it's something my dad told me from a very young age, and I have no idea if this is his original quote or not. I'm assuming not, but do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that is, for me, what has been an ambition item. It has allowed me to define and merge my personal interests in life and things that I love and my passion every day into a job that pays me to do it. To be honest, that's one of the things I have to pinch myself on the most is like I get to do this every day and they want to pay me for it. Like I get to really like that's it. And it's okay for people that maybe they work a 9 to 5, but they get to do what they love every day, and that's what it is. They when they're doing those other items, they're not working. And if they do a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, you're okay with that. You're getting to do that because it's something you're comfortable with and okay with that puts you into those areas where you absolutely love. I'm
Yeah.
fortunate that I got to merge those two. And I'll say if I was working a 9 to 5, I would probably still be trying to figure out on my side hustles, whatever it is that was in footwear, what was going to get me there. And being able to do what I love every day, I'm excited about my mornings. I love getting up
Yeah.
and I go to the gym every morning and I turn around, I get to go to work. Whether I'm working remote for a day or I'm in the office, like there are moments of it where it's like, this is cool. Like this is what I love. And my passion behind those things, it might change over the years. I might want to go start making cars one day. I don't know. But being able to do what I love and means I never have to work a day in my life. Now I want them to pay me for it, of course, but what you love and what it is that allows you to do those moments is for you to define. Everybody's is different. If what I love and what I get to do every day is I'm never working a day in my life, that can be from a job standpoint, or if I get to be with my significant other and I love and every single moment with them is the best thing ever, I'm not having to work at the relationship. It's natural. I love it. It's comfortable. It's there. It
Wow.
can be a job thing, personal life, career, you name it. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And
I
that is
love
up to
that
you to
perspective.
fit where you want it to be.
Dude, I love that perspective because whenever I think of that quote, I specifically think of a job.
Yeah.
And you just said, no, it's not even just your job. It's anything. It's anything in your life you can apply it to. And I really think it's a huge credit to your dad because it put you in the mindset of not, oh, what am I going to do when I'm older? What's my job going to be? What's that?
Yeah.
It put you in a mindset from a young age of what do I love? And then you
Yep.
identified, I love sneakers. I like design. I like,
Yep.
I just like being around the footwear industry. That's what I
Yep.
love doing. And then you identified that and then you chased after that. And he
Yep.
put you in that space where you could do that. And I think that's a huge credit to him for giving you that mindset.
Shout out, Pop.
And yeah, absolutely, man.
Nick Barrelet, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
exactly. And to your point though, it's like it took me a long time. It took me a lot longer than I ever realized to understand, because I took it very direct. Do what you love and you'll
Yeah.
never work a day in your life. I took it kind of
Yep.
direct, and maybe that was just me as a young, ambitious kid that was like, oh yeah, you're right. If I do work in shoes and I enjoy it that much and they want to pay me, doesn't really feel like I'm having to work. But then there was the point where it was like, oh, my personal life and interests, if I get to do what I love every day, if it's being with a particular person every day in my life, if it's going to the gym, I love going to the gym. Never did I initially think I would, and I started going. It's like I hate a day I don't go to the gym because it's a relief for me. I enjoy
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't. When I go to the gym now, it doesn't feel like I'm working, unless like there's this particular goal I'm really trying to drill into myself. But then it's like, all right, pick those moments you put the work in at. But
Yeah.
it's towards the bigger picture, and it's the things that I love. If somebody loves playing basketball every day and or wants to play football or wants to paint, but you can't get paid or work to get paid off of it, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. You do you do your job and you get to do what you love. When you have those moments where it's like this feels effortless, this is not working, I don't feel like I need to drain myself for this moment. That is that thing that you get to love and enjoy. It's something that just is naturally comfortable. And you can take it in a lot of ways. But like I said, it took me a lot longer in life to realize the outside of the direct version of that quote that I took it as.
Yeah.
But it changed my perspective on a lot of things as a whole. I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at. And that quote definitely helped define some things for me. And it defined things for when I was unsure. Like you said, at a young age, it made me think, what do I love? And what do I love to do? How can I figure that out? Then it was everything after that. If you can
Yeah.
figure out what that is, it will 1,000% change your perspective and direction on things for the positive.
That's awesome, man. I really love that perspective, man. I'm over here a little mind blown because when you said that, especially with relationships, I
Yeah,
never put that into perspective at all. Like love your relationships with with your people. Don't
yep,
ever think of it as work. Just have the mindset of I love, even if it's things that you need to do,
yep,
I love this. I love learning. I love talking. I love whatever it is. Have that perspective of what you love about what you're doing right now.
yeah.
And I
Or
think
what's the
that's really
reasoning behind
important.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, small, simple example. My fiance is an amazing cook. I can't
Yeah.
cook to save my life. Maybe some breakfast here and there.
Yeah.
But our agreements, I do the dishes. I don't enjoy doing the dishes, but I love her and I love her cooking, so I love doing the dishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Because
about your
the dishes
perspective.
means that she's making food. So it's yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it doesn't feel like work being having to do
Yeah.
those things. From a personal relationship standpoint to even outside of it. If it feels like you have to work for it, it's about how much you're willing to give into it. Do you really love it? Do you love
Yeah.
every single one of those friendships? Do you love every single one of your relationships? Do you love what those moments are that you get to have in your life? What is that you love? And more or less, what are the things that put you in that direction? What keeps you in the mindset of those things? What are those things? And like I said, some people it takes a long time. Some people they don't have anything, and it's like you never know when it will come around. Did Steve Jobs love computers? Yeah. Did the guy think he was going to create Apple? I would assume probably not until the day he sat there and was like, I love this so much. I think that I can do it. And he took a chance on himself. Loving
Yeah.
yourself helps too.
Yeah.
It helps in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways. You
So,
got to learn a lot about yourself in a lot of ways to be able to set that up.
yeah, absolutely. Be comfortable with who you are, where you're at, make improvements as you see fit, and those defining moments will come as they come.
Yeah,
Yeah. So two little last questions.
let's go for it.
W- What is the first shoe you ever made, and what's your favorite shoe that you ever made?
Oh my. Okay, here's all right. This is a slightly complicated question, but I have to have clarity.
Okay.
First shoe I ever made from a design standpoint, actually like sent into manufacturing. First shoe I ever just sampled. First shoe beginning to end that was my own idea.
First shoe that the first shoe that you went out and you bought that was manufactured, put out.
I mean that I could. Okay, so
Yep.
it was a shoe at Skechers. I couldn't tell you the name of it to save my life, but I feel like I remember the SKU number just because it's like branded in my brain at this point. But it was
Yeah.
one of my very first projects. About a year and a half into being there, I had moved over to the men's performance team, and my boss and I got to really put it. There was a small team of us that we put in a lot of work on it, and it in general in that category, and it came tenfold and then some.
Yeah.
And there was one of my projects that I got to do more or less beginning to end, from help with some of the design stuff to pick materials, colors, you name it. And not that I'm a sneaker guy, I know how the sneaker releases go. Skechers is far from a sneaker release company like that, but
You
that's
weren't
just
camping
their
outside.
demographic. I was waiting right out front the second it hit the store. I was watching it
Yeah.
on the shipping tracker coming to the
Oh,
warehouse the second it hit.
you had the
I was there.
charcoal grill
I got to start over.
outside. You were
Oh
chefing up
yeah.
burgers all night.
Yep.
Wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because like anytime I see it out and about, like I always kind of like think to myself, like it's a cool little. That is probably one of the coolest defining moments on the day to day, is
Yeah.
like being out and about and seeing a project either you fully created or worked on or whatever it is out on people's feet. Let
Yeah.
alone it was cool actually. It made it into like one of the commercials, so like
Mm.
that was just something cool that was like I did that. I made that shoe. That's
Yeah.
the one that I that was my idea. I got to get that there. That was really cool getting to see that. But things like that, especially like airports. Going to the airport, you see, look at people's shoes next time you go to the airport. You'll be shocked the amount of shoes, like different shoes people wear in
Yeah.
general. But that was probably one of the coolest, like just seeing it on somebody's foot or whatever. It was like, oh, somebody actually did buy that. Cool. Like, so that was it. What was your second question?
What was your favorite shoe that you ever made? That you ever like put out and it was available for sale? Are you allowed to speak on it?
I'd say it's not out yet.
It's not
I'd say
out
it's not.
yet.
It's not my original project, but I got to help take it over, and there's a really cool team of people working on it. Hopefully, next end of next year, we'll see.
Okay.
Um, I'll be sure to keep you posted. But that one so far
Okay.
has been a really exciting one for me. I would probably say it would have been something from Yeezy, but none of my projects got to come out because things ended a little early there. But
Mm.
um, like I said, that's you can read Complex
Yeah.
magazine for that news. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say in a year from now, I'll be sure to let you know once it's out.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. That would be a definitely a huge defining moment. Your favorite pair finally coming out.
It would be my first Adidas shoe getting to come out too. So
Yeah.
yeah, that right now for me is probably my favorite one. My next favorite one might be the new project I'm starting this upcoming week. It could be something else in a little bit. We'll see once I reflect on it.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
on,
buddy.
taking the time and being on here, sharing your thoughts, insight with, just your journey as well as just general information on mental health, being well, productivity, everything like that, reflection. I really appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you giving me the platform to kind of tell a little bit of my story. It's definitely just the beginning of a lot. But I highly appreciate it. And I'm very glad to be on here. I think it's a super great opportunity, and I love what you're getting to do. And I look forward to possibly part two sometime. We'll see.
Dude, that's just what I was about to say. I would love to, you
Yeah.
know, in a year or even sooner possibly being able to do a little reflection episode where we talk
Yeah.
about, where you were at here, where you will be in, where you will be in the future, what you're working on and everything like that. I would definitely like to keep this a consistent relationship
I'm
and
all for it, man. I mean,
keep building on it.
we didn't even touch on Tourette's yet, so we can do one
Oh
just
yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
talk
We could
about
definitely
defining
do
moments,
yeah, absolutely. We could do
especially
another episode on that as well, kind of overcoming that.
yeah,
And yeah,
many more, man.
absolutely,
I
man.
appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time, and look forward to seeing this thing go live.
Yeah, so do you have any socials that you want to drop out for people? If they can follow you
Yeah,
on
if
anything?
anybody wants to add me on Instagram, it's Mr. Clean_kicks. I think it's under my name too. You can search Andrew Barrelet. Just feel free to hit me up there if you have any questions, or I'm always here to help mentor people and give people suggestions, advice. I'm an open door. Hit me up. Professionally, if you need to, LinkedIn, same, just my name. Feel free to reach out. I can help give as much career advice or in general suggestions of things I can help with. I know footwear is a very hot topic in the world right now. So if people got questions or curious how I got different areas or even just need helps for some contacts or find some people, feel free to reach out.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and again, thank you for all of our listeners out there. Follow us on Instagram at excelcast underscore. Also, just started a TikTok, so that's at excelcast. Follow the podcast on Spotify. Do the Q&A down below. Do the poll down below. And as always, stay blessed and excel.